Here's my roadmap to defy shiny object syndrome. So if you are currently an AI B2B agency owner that is looking to niche down because your offer is currently not quite working as well, you don't feel that you get market traction, or you don't even know where to start and where to begin with, this is going to be the video for you. So I'm going to read a few pre-prepared points and I'm going to extrapolate on those. So when choosing your niche, start with what you know best. You may evaluate, what niche do I go into? Do I go luxury car dealerships? Do I serve dentists or plastic surgeons? Or do I go with my uncle who has a real estate company, right? And how do you evaluate that for you? Well, you should start with what you know the best. A lot of people, that's a mistake that I see, they take a look at, okay, what do I have in my make.com scenario, or what do I have in my N@N workflows that I can provide a person with? In my opinion, and from what I've seen, this is not the right approach. What is the right approach is to commit to the niche and then figure out how to serve them, because oftentimes, you have a plan and then you get hit in the face, as Muhammad Ali said, or was it Mike Tyson? I don't know. But you have a plan and then you meet the business owner and then you realize that your plan doesn't actually hold up, right? So everybody has an automation until they get punched in the face and realize the real requirements of the business owner that you're talking to. So for that, commit to the niche and do not commit to the automation. Figure out the automation and talk to people who can figure that out. There are so many people on LinkedIn, in communities, in free Discord servers who can help you figure this out. And worst case, you say yes, you either work for free or you take their money, and worst case scenario, you wire them the money back and you sink it to the ground out of unbelievable shame, and you have to look at yourself and say, I wasn't good enough, I couldn't deliver that. All right, and what if that really happens? What's so wrong with that? Take the money first, really try to deliver. In 85% of the cases in the beginning, you really can figure this out, right? And really, if you can, then say, well, I was a little bit hot-headed in the beginning, I'm sorry, and I actually do not have the option that you're looking for. I'm sorry for wasting your time, but here I've given you that free resources and you have your money back. They're not going to hate you for that. It's fine. It's all good. That's the worst case. That is the worst case. That is the worst case. So be willing to be okay with the worst case, right? Commit to the niche, not to the automation. First, which industry have you spent the most time in, either working in or as an employee? I was having the conversation with a gentleman 2 days ago, that is considering whether to go into healthcare or into factory manufacturing, especially for CPG food products. And we were having this discussion based on what he wants, right? Where he wants to go into, because frankly, with his skill set, he could have made it in any kind of niche. The question is just, what's right for you? And so I started exploring with him, first of all, what's the goal, right? I asked him, are you optimizing for revenue or are you optimizing for fulfillment? Because you want to understand that and you want to know that for yourself, and nothing is right or wrong. I'm just saying, you want to find out what's your decision-making criteria. By which criteria are you evaluating these niches that you're considering going into? And so he said, it's actually passion. It's passion. And I didn't expect it. I thought he said, no, I want to hit this certain revenue number. I don't really care. I come from healthcare. It's a bit boring anyways. I don't care. I just want to make the money. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if you make the money, still the decision-making criteria afterwards becomes, how do I serve my clients the best? How do I give them a great opportunity, a great experience so that they give me good reviews, etc. So it's not just about squeezing people for money. But if your goal is to make the money, your criteria by which you evaluate the niche may change. Because in that instance, I would have recommended him stay in healthcare. The reason why it's hard and while you deal with all of these compliance issues, that's your advantage. Because when it's hard for you, it's hard for everybody else too. And in order to make money in a business, it always has to be some form of hard. And so the question by evaluating that is not what's easiest. The question is, what hard can I pick that is easy for me and brings value to other people? So in my opinion, like in my case, I'm having these types of conversations with people where other people would be like, how are you doing that? How are you having these conversations? You don't know, and you just help people figure that out. What's your framework? I'm like, it's intuitive. It's 10 years of inner work and experience in a lot of these conversations. And so I'm picking my heart, right? Also being able to keep up with all of the technology. A lot of people would be insecure on that. And they're like, man, I cannot be bothered to keep up with all of that. And I'm like, all right, but I'm picking this heart for me, for my business, because this is how I can provide the value. And for him, for example, picking the heart of healthcare would have been a good option if it were just only about money, but he decided to not do that and go with where his passion was. And so we explored the factory route, but we also came to another industry afterwards, which was more aligned with his passion. And so if you need to be passionate about the business, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're kind of emotionally weak or not disciplined enough. It's just you just want to know this for yourself. Because then the money becomes secondary. Or meaning you will still do the same thing, but you evaluate the niche based on what your passion is. And so secondly, which offer have you sold for the most money and to which niche? When evaluating a niche, I help people understand not only what they're passionate about, because that's one way to look at it, and it's an important consideration for sure, for some people more important than for others, but it's really important to also look at, with both feet on the ground, firmly grounded in reality, what have you sold? And that says less about you, but more about the market. Meaning, what kind of offer has gotten the most traction and the most interest? Because it's not about how well you can sell, it's about what kind of offer can you make for an already existing demand. Let me repeat that, please, so that it sinks in, that I can emphasize that. It's not about how well you can sell when the demand is not there. You want to find an offer for a use case, for a pain that is already in high demand, and then you just align your offer and your sales skills with it, because it's much easier if you have a good product than if you have to get great at sales and the product is not even that wanted. Because you can't persuade somebody to do something that they don't inherently want to do. So that's the most important thing. Picking the market and then a solution that's aligned with people's pain. In an ethical way. Because we are here to help people. And so if it's painful, the automation that I build for myself, for example, every time I wrap up a call with a person, with a client, or with a prospect for that matter, I send them a review and a summary of the meeting. And there are already 6 or 7 action steps still involved in that. And I've made automations that help me deliver that. So, 4th point, is the industry growing or is the market shrinking? Well, we want to find out, are we actually in a market which is expanding or is it shrinking? That's just one of the main points that you need to also consider. It's very unlikely that that's going to be your criterion by which to reject a niche. Usually you are going to be okay, but if you don't consider that and you do it wrong, it can lead to a lot of pain. 5th, do people in the market have the money to spend? Very important. I had the conversation with another person where we were exploring the idea of tutoring, a tutoring business. And we didn't decide for that because in the conversation, very interestingly, we went for half an hour exploring that and he said, you know what? I have the side business. I've been spending time in that already for the same amount of time. I actually want to do that. And I'm like, all right, it's your decision. I'm just here to extract the information out of you, feed it back to you, or say it back to you so that you hear it from somebody else, not just in your own head, and be able to reflect upon that. It's great. And so he was considering this tutoring business. And the people that he was most easily reaching were the teachers and the students, both of which do not have the money for his service. Who he wants to reach are affluent parents. So had we gone into this direction, his real business would not have been to deliver the service, but to actually finding ways to acquire the people. And so that's also a consideration for your industry. Can you reach them? And as I said before, you want to pick your kind of heart. For him, in this business, had we decided on that, would have been probably acquisition of the parents, which is going to be equally hard for everybody else, right? To get through to the parents who can pay, and also acquiring other tutors, because you are, as one person, very limited to the amount of time, and parents want to have personal tutoring, right? Not just online, because the kids are likely online all the time anyways. They want somebody to come into the house that they like and trust, right? Also for some emotional connection. And so likely that would have been his business. Number 1, how do I acquire affluent parents who can pay the money that I'm charging for the service? And secondly, how do I acquire more tutors that I can then plug into my system, enhanced with AI and enhanced with systems, with CRMs, etc., so that they can deliver the service? So can we reach people easily, right? 6, are these individuals easy to contact? That's exactly what we said. 7, is the market in pain, and can you solve it? Very important that we actually find the demand, because the demand comes from the pain. That's why for centuries, or like rather decades I should say, nerve pain medications, weight loss, dating, because lonely is incredibly painful, being lonely is incredibly painful, all of these offers are tested. There are more and more, and it just keeps working. Some kind of new weight loss diet pill that probably doesn't work, but like the demand is still there, the pain is still there, people still want it, right? And they pay for the illusion that it might work this time because the pain is there. That's what we want to find. What are psychological motivations inside of people that we can piggyback upon? Something that's already influencing the client that we can just align with, so that they see that what we have to sell or want to offer is actually helping them. All right. So focusing on understanding the niche first, not the tools and automations, because the tools will change, and what matters is the commitment to an industry. Being able and not romantic to the tools, being willing to adapt and change, and focus on the client, and aligning everything else that we do based on that. So even as AI advances, not everybody wants a fully machine-based service. That's why it's important to position ourselves as the go-to experts, and to pick a niche to build trust and become the go-to expert in that market. And the tighter the niche, the more people assume that you've mastered it. The specificity becomes proof that you've done it before, and it also filters objections for trust, capability, and the implementation concerns vanish. The only objection left behind becomes then the money. And when you then only focus on financially qualified people in a niche, the sales get easier. Saying no to other markets strengthens your positioning. It makes your target market feel deeply connected to you. And ironically, it also makes outsiders want to work with you even more, because people hate to be told no. Some will fight harder to qualify themselves in order to still get the benefits of your service. But you'll never get there without niching. Being a generalist keeps you fairly invisible. Specificity creates authority and the perception of likelihood of results, and the authority creates demand.